Welcome. So welcome everyone. This is my free intro class to how to live a spiritual life. And so I just thought, I would provide this sort of introductory overview. If there's any Q&As for people who have some questions about what we're doing here, kind of like why I'm doing it, who am I, how we're going to do this, and sort of just some broad strokes about what this is all about and why I'm doing it. So I'm just going to kind of dive in. If you don't already know me, my name is Kristina Leonardi, and you're like, who is this woman? Why should we listen to her about how to have a spiritual life? And if you watch any of my other YouTube videos about this, what I realize is that I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm good at this, being a spiritual person. It's how I've lived my whole adult life. It's the basis, it's the root, it's the foundation of everything that I do. So I would say actually two things that I'm good at. I'm good at spiritual understanding stuff and practical application of it, and salsa dancing. So those are my two things that I will totally claim proficiency in. Um, and if you don't believe me about the salsa dancing, there is some clips on YouTube. No, excuse me, on my Instagram. So, so as look, I've been a holistic career and life coach. This is my 18th year as a coach. And holistic is really the key word, because how I've approached my coaching is who are you? What are you supposed to be doing with your life? I take it from sort of the macro to the micro. So you're a soul in the cosmos. You came here. What are you supposed to do? You have some unique combination of talents, skills, abilities that I believe is supposed to be utilized for the benefit of all. And also for you to experience what you want to experience, heal what needs to be healed. And so I'm always looking at everyone, trying to get to the root of like what is blocking or preventing you from expressing your fullest potential. And also, if you're feeling stuck or if you're having challenges, trying to understand what those challenges are and how they are able to help you in your own personal growth and evolution. Nothing is by chance or by accident. And I guess, we can talk about like free will or destiny and all of that. And I think it's some combination of the two. There's definitely something that, maybe two things. Like there's a guidance. It's kind of like when you came in, you're like, I want to, you had a little checklist of things that you want to experience. And in order to experience or grow or learn, certain external events and situations have to be in place in order for you to grow and learn and confront those things. And yes, there is destiny and there is the planets. We don't control the way the planets are doing or how they're affecting us, but how we interact with all of the external things that are happening is how we grow and evolve. So, and even just that little bit that I just talked about, to me, that's being a spiritual person. So, anyway, back to me for a second. So for 30 years at least, I've studied lots of different things. So both from the metaphysical, those of you who know me have worked with me, certainly astrological, even though I'm not an astrologer. It's like I watch the Weather Channel almost like 24/7, but I'm not a meteorologist. So yeah, and it proves itself to me over and over, and I use it like as a tool, or like Myers-Briggs. I understand cycles of things, so it helps me in my coaching and it helps me in my own life manage expectations and understand cycles. So that's a tool. Is that spiritual? You can say that's spiritual or not. There's plenty of people that use astrology that wouldn't consider themselves spiritual. So like these are just all questions. I'm not saying that I have the answer to any of these questions, but I'm saying like this is what is like how I spend the majority of my time and energy thinking about practicing and utilizing a lot of these things. And so I think that I can certainly shed some light and give you some ideas and perspectives and tools and practices to think about, or even just reframing how you think about your life. Um, so today, I'm gonna just go a little bit all over the place. To kind of, it's almost like I want to give you like a little bit of like a smorgasbord sampling taste of some of my ideas and concepts that might come through when we do the actual course. So maybe I should talk about what the course is. No, maybe I should talk about why I'm doing the course. So earlier this year, it just kind of came to me, and that's usually how, I mean, if you go on my YouTube channel, um, I have a playlist of, I used to give talks at the Science and Business Library, and I've done lots of Zoom talks. So usually when I do a talk, it's because it's the inspiration that came, and the information or understanding that comes through that I feel needs to be shared at any particular moment. So you can get a flavor of that. But with this particular class, yeah, it came in January, and I just was like, what? Because it's such a personal thing. Your spirituality, your spiritual practice. I don't want to be told what to do or what to believe. It's your own. Um, you're either desire that or you don't, generally, and then you pursue it however you're going to pursue it. So, but I think a couple of different things why I was inspired to do, and this is how I do everything, by the way. And those of you who know me or have worked with me, it's like I'll just be like, oh, I got to do a talk on this thing in a week or 2 weeks, and then I just do it because it's just what I feel inspired to do. Um, and I don't always know why. So I think with this talk, I mean, clearly you can see that the world is a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and things are incredibly unstable. Um, no matter how you slice it, right? Government, money, climate, like everything is very unstable, no matter what you believe or what side you're on and all that kind of stuff. Um, there's just a lot of instability, and there's a lot of change in the air, and it's only going to, oh, and then technology, right? So AI and all that stuff. So we're in this very, very, very transformative, dynamic, uh, I hate to say the word unprecedented and rare, but it really is. Like like even if, so like, yeah, that sounds like hyperbole, but if you, let's say if you take, like, you study astrology, like there are things happening with the planets that have never happened before, haven't happened in like 1500 years, 500 years, 5,000 years. So it really is unique and rare. And then you add, even though, let's say, there's things that happened in the past, you add on top of it technology that didn't exist. And then you also add on top of it the astrophysical things that are happening, like solar flares and coronal mass ejections and like all this other stuff. So it really is this combination, a perfect storm of us being birthed into this new version of ourselves. Um, and so it's a messy process, right? It's a messy birth is a messy process. So um detox, messy process, right? But you have to sort of let go of the past, release the past, deconstruct the things, all the things that are breaking down right now haven't really worked so well anyway, right? So but they need to, the corruption and the the error, the everything that's not working needs to kind of be shown first, so that we can be like, oh, this doesn't work, let's do something else. But it's just not an easy or smooth process. So clearly that's what we've been in. And then you add on top of it now, um, the whole AI thing. So, and if you thought, this changed things with the internet, social media, those were all levels of how we changed how we interact with life and communicate. I mean, AI is just going to be this, let's multiply that thousandfold probably in terms of the acceleration and disorientation, I think, also of, you know, taking us out of our body, taking us out of our agency, right? So for me, it's like I was never good at math. So when we had a calculator, I'm like, great, I'll just use the calculator. And I have no idea how to do math. But, you know, with AI, it's just, I mean, that's a whole other topic, and we will probably discuss that as part of the course, because I think I think that's also why this is coming up now, is like, if AI is able to take all our data processing abilities and a lot of functionality out of how we operate, well then, like, what's left? Like, then what's the point? What makes us human? What, are we just all going to be robots? Or are we going to have the robots take care of us? And then what are we going to do? So I think we're at this kind of nexus point of redefining what it means to be human, and what is the whole point of this. And I have a lot of people, I've been talking to a lot of young people in their 20s who are incredibly disillusioned, and they're like, I did everything I was supposed to do, and like, what has this got me? Like, nothing. So it's a place where my observation for a while, which was just an observation, I didn't know how, if I was going to personally try to do something about it, but that, you know, most people in terms of like traditional religion have not really. So I would say probably if you're like under 35, maybe you probably, unless you live in like a community, I mean, a lot of us here on the Northeast, but if you lived in a, you know, most people under 35, I feel like, didn't really have anything. And even if you were older than 35, you might have grown up with some traditional religion, but like, it was more tradition. It was more kind of rote. It was more, whether it was Judaism or Christianity or Islam or Hinduism, it was more of a cultural thing, let's say, than a truly spiritual thing that, you know, that you genuinely like believed and used as a tool and incorporated in your own, you know, everyday life. I'm making broad generalizations here, but for sure, young people, I feel like they really, you know, a lot of them didn't have anything, right? They didn't have anything because people got their parents, the older generations got completely disillusioned or greatly damaged by certain traditional religions. So I feel like there's a big gap. And then also people who are, you know, even if you are older and like, you know, maybe you had religion at one point, but then you're like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work for me. This is not helping. I don't understand this. How did this help me? So they're also kind of in limbo. So it's like, where do people go? And then the email like that I sent yesterday to my mailing list was, you know, let's go deeper than TikTok spirituality, because I feel like, especially let's say with the younger generations, they kind of know, I mean, look, they know their rising sign, their moon sign, and their you know, they know, they've got their, what is it, co-star, they've got their apps, they know tarot, they know all about manifestation. It's all about manifestation. Like, I didn't even know that word until like I was like 30. But do they really know what anything really means and why this is important? And those are just tools. Anyway, that's not true spirituality the way that I understand it. And so a lot of them, they don't take things seriously. Everything's kind of a throwaway surface because there's no depth, there's no meaning, there's no purpose. It's just like, do this, do that, and then this is messing with everybody. So anyway, so I think, you know, part of why this I'm offering this course and why the time is right is because it's that time. Like, it's like, okay, so when nothing else makes sense, how do you make sense? Right? How do you make sense out of life? How do you give your life meaning? And like I said, I mean, I have always made meaning out of everything. Everything I do is meaning. I've taken, my whole life has been based on, I'm gonna die someday and I want to make the most of my time while I'm here. So I've always had that as sort of an underlying motivation. And I didn't understand the way the world worked in a lot of ways. It didn't make any sense to me. It's like, it's your life, it's your time and your energy. Why are you gonna do all these things for what? You know, for a paycheck? Look at all the people. I just talked to someone yesterday who I don't know, he was late 30s. I think he was like 30. Yeah, he was like 38. He had been with the US Department of Treasury since he was out of college, and he was a lifer. He thought like that was just going to be his life and he was going to retire there. A couple months ago, that is no longer the case. So now what? Now what? And that's just one minuscule example of someone that just you have no control. So it's like, how do you navigate all of this? And then another thing that, as I was just saying before we came on the recording, is I've always believed in life after death. I've always believed in reincarnation. So for me, again, when I'm talking to someone, it's always about who are you? What are you supposed to be doing with your life? You are in a physical body now. You're a spiritual being in a physical body. And what are you supposed to do while you're here? Like, it's to me, it's kind of straightforward, but I know that like as a culture, this is not really how we're taught. And certainly all the different religions have their own interpretation of things. But so, and if you've, so, and look, over the years there've been quote unquote famous mediums, or there are, television shows and things like that. So there's been evidence, if you believe the way that the evidence comes through, that there is life after death. And I personally now have been experiencing this as someone who can communicate with people from the other side with evidential information. And so I think, and that coincided with this inspiration for offering this class. And I don't think it's an accident. Obviously, there's nothing that's an accident, but I think it's really important to understand, or what I'm learning from people on the other side as I'm giving these readings to people. Certainly, it is very comforting and it is very healing for the people who are still here, alive in a physical body. But for the people on the other side, they're continuing to grow and evolve as well. And so the healing, their opportunity to have the healing in order to confront and address and whatever unfinished business they had with the person here, and or a lot of times what's happening is what they're telling their loved one is like, when I was alive, I know I said this and I believe this and this is how I thought it went, but now that I'm on the other side, I see it differently. And this is what you should pay attention to, and this is how I see it now. So I think, it really helps if you haven't thought about these concepts before. It really helps focus you in on what's important, right? How should you be using your time and energy? What is meaningful and purposeful, and then that's where sort of traditional religions, and we'll in one of the classes we'll talk about sort of like bits and pieces of like the traditional religions, but essentially they all have the golden rule, right? In some way, shape, or form: compassion, treat others as you would yourself, service, all of these things. So there's definitely these universal truths. And so it doesn't really matter what label you put on it, right? And it's like, but can you live it? Can you embody it? And when and another thing is, when we talk about past lives, people make jokes about past lives, but I think this is another thing that we'll talk about is, why is it important that you know what your past life is? You're carrying over patterns, you're carrying over talents, you're carrying over things that need to be healed. So again, I think this is like all part of this picture, but then there's also beautiful jewels and beautiful truths, again, that are in those traditional faiths, those traditional religions that, just got messed up from humans, but the origins of them, the kernels of them have a lot to offer us. And because you don't want to throw like the baby out with the bathwater. And so it's like, okay, what can we take? What can we understand? How can we enrich our lives from these beautiful, traditions and words of wisdom that have existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years? And let's incorporate that as well. And at the end of the day, to me, it's like being spiritual is just understanding that you're not just the physical. I think that's really where I sort of, if I can put it into one sentence, is understanding that what you see is not everything, right? What is, your existence on this very, very material plane is important. I don't believe it's an illusion. I don't believe it's pointless or anything like that. I believe it's very real. It's a condensed version of being a spiritual being, a soul that is coming to this very, very condensed, materialized version of itself in order to grow and learn and accelerate faster than if you just were in the spiritual realm. Because think about like friction, right? So you only grow like a muscle, you need to have friction, resistance for the muscle to grow, right? A diamond is only formed, a piece of carbon, when there's pressure. So when you're on the other side, there's less friction, there's less pressure, there's nothing to kind of push against. So it's a slower process. It's a much slower process. So so while we're here, we have like this tremendous opportunity, which is also really hard. Like this is the hard way to do it, and also because you and I, because you're on this call right now, or you're listening to this recording, you have picked one of the most, I don't want to say hardest, but the most like dynamic, challenging, intense times to come. I mean, like whoever's not here is on the other side. Like we're in the IMAX movie. Like they're like watching popcorn, be like, oh my God, they're like alive. They're like in a body now on Earth. Holy moly. Like we're in like we're in like the big action movie now. So 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 if you're here, it's harder, but it's also, as I've said many times, whether one-on-one with clients or in my talks, you get more bang for your healing buck. What do I mean by that? There is so many combinations of energies, whether it's the planets or the solar flares or the technology, like the combination of the things that we have that are happening at the same time with a certain level of intensity. You can heal like 100 lifetimes in one lifetime, whereas like before you used to have one lifetime and you could heal like maybe like 5 things in that lifetime. You can heal so much in this lifetime because there's so much happening in such a concentrated way. And also you can heal for your ancestors. So not only that, but it's like, oh, we raised our hand and said, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to heal this stuff once and for all for my lineage. So that's why if you are struggling, please understand that this is not easy. It's not an easy thing, but you are strong enough to handle it. Absolutely. And I believe that you chose to be here for this, because it's like literally you get more bang for your healing buck. So, and also because you're the strong one who can withstand. I mean, just even think about like, what are we, 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago we had this. I think I only got an iPhone in like 2013. That's 27 years ago? No, wait, that's 12 years ago. Holy moly. So like, think of just how much has changed. And then of course, since COVID times, I mean, the acceleration of things, the people, if you were born before, I don't know, 1980, whatever, like, we have like cassette tape CDs, DVDs. Like, how many technology changes have we have gone through in our lifetime in a very short amount of time? And it's only accelerating. So like 10 years from now, holy moly, what is it going to be? So it's requiring, and going back to kind of, I think, why also I think this course is important to do right now is because of like how rapid things are. We need to get a grip on kind of where we've been, who we are, and like how do we navigate the even increased acceleration, because I can explain it to you in astrological terms, even why it's going to get even crazier. But even just look at the world and look at AI. So how are you going to navigate that without being taken over by it, right? Without being like, you know, but pushed around by it. Like, I'm not saying that you can necessarily control it, because these are much bigger forces. But how do you move through it with grace, with ease, with a certain level of peace and a certain level of like, roller coaster? And I'm not going to freak out about it, but I'm going to try to have some fun and excitement about it, even though this is wackadoo. But yeah, so how can you maintain a sense of self through the most transformative, dynamic times that you can live through? And also, how do you it's like, how do you fully express, because this is the other thing that I believe, and this is what I've been personally experiencing, is that we are evolving, just as like the acorn goes into the oak tree, right? An acorn inherently becomes the oak tree. So as humans, we have our own developmental cycle. And I'll probably do like one of the classes will be kind of all about this, about like what does that look like as like a spiritual personal growth development thing, because it really is it's a developmental thing. It's not haphazard. It's not like, ooh, spirituality. It's like, no, it's this process that we go through. It's an evolutionary maturation that we go through that our culture has completely erased and taken out of and distracted us. So, we'll talk about that as well. But so as you go through this evolutionary process of your own unfoldment, it's an organic process of allowing your senses, your heart to open, your different parts of your brain to come online, different aptitudes and talents that were maybe buried or repressed or from past lives that have yet to be turned on and remembered. Let those come through. It's like, how can we fully embody all of our gifts and talents? And so part of what I want to do with this course, or how it came through, is kind of like all the steps for you to get to that place of like being truly centered and allowing yourself to flourish and kind of blossom. And I'll share, this year, and those of you who are on my mailing list, like, it's just been a naturally evolving process that now I'm able to, I mean, I've always been intuitive, but I've been growing intuitively because of the work that I've done for 30 years, but definitely more concentrated probably the last, 5, as many people have gone through since 2020, and definitely the last year or so, that all of a sudden, without me asking for or trying, I'm able to have communication with people who are on the other side. And I didn't try to do it. It just happened. It just naturally happened. I didn't try. I didn't take a course. I didn't say, oh my God, I really want to like talk to dead people. No, and they're not dead. That's a joke. But it's just a good example. And I'm not saying if you take this course, you're going to be able to talk to people on the other side, by the way. But it's just an example of, because I live and breathe this stuff 24/7 and I've been at it for a long time. For me, like, even though it sounds a little wackadoo to me, even, and if, like, I can't even believe I'm saying this all to you and I've experienced the things that I've experienced the past 6 months, but at the same time, it's actually not that weird at all, because of how I've developed myself and the practices that I do on a daily basis, by the way. So the other thing that we'll be talking about in the course is on a daily basis. So how to live a spiritual life, it's like 24/7. And it doesn't have to be this like worshiping thing or whatever. It's like, no, um how do I acknowledge that I'm a spiritual being, that there's something greater than myself? How do I be the most connected to myself? Because when I'm the most connected to myself, then I'm the most connected to my highest self, which is connected to the thing that's greater than myself. How do I navigate life knowing also that we have help, whether it's people from the other side or we have other spirit guides or angels? How do we use everything? Astrology. How do we use all the tools that we have been given? How do we use all of the understanding that we have about being a soul incarnated in a physical body on planet Earth in 2025? How do you make all of that work for you so that you can maximize the time that you're here and be as peaceful, as healthy, mind, body, spirit, and be able to give the gifts that you're here to give? And honestly, that literally could just be kindness wherever you go. That could be the gift that you came here to give, is to just be kind to everyone. So it doesn't have to be big or grandiose. It's not about a belief system. It's not about a religion. It's like, it's just understanding that there is much more than meets the eye of this life and of what we've been sold and what we've been taught. And I think it's just, people are, the other thing that's been happening, and then I'll take a moment to ask you guys what's up with you, but the people that I've been working with, again, I've been coaching for, it'll be 18 years in August. There's this, it's like the missing piece. It's like, even if figured out your career and you have the relationship, but there's still something missing, and or like there's a low level anxiety, or there's like a level of not being able to like just sit still or be with themselves, or a lot of people are emotionally constipated. And so I think that one of the medicines that I've been prescribing, let's say, is the spiritual one. It's like, and this was again kind of like a taboo thing to talk about. So it has taken me 6 months to finally say, oh, let's do this course. But I got the idea 6 months ago, and it's something that I've been noticing for a couple of years, but it's been such a taboo thing to talk about in a lot of ways. And so very proud of myself for doing this, because it's a lot of courage. But because traditionally, if you spoke out against whatever the norm was, it didn't go well for you. But so that's, I just feel like it's this missing element, it's this missing piece. And like, again, as we said before, if there's no kind of traditional religion that people are connecting to or relating to, or maybe, I think also, I'll say this, is that some people maybe have gone back or kind of use religion as for community, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that, and that's great, but it's still not necessarily a deeper spiritual thing. But I think churches are great for community for sure. And I'm open to all of it. I have no baggage, by the way. Like I know a lot of people have baggage from, going to church every Sunday or whatever, but I have no baggage with any religion. So that's also, I think, why maybe I'm a good person to talk about all these things, because I don't have any issues with any of them, and I see the truth and the beauty in all of them. And I take what resonates with me, and I kind of make my own religion, because I think ultimately that's what this is about, is how do you yeah, just take what works for you. And if it works for you, it works for you. Like, we're good, as long as you're not hurting anybody, right? But those are just some like thoughts. And before I open it up, I'll also just say, yeah, so I just think that the time is right, because I think it's just a missing element in society in general, like for people that are searching for something, but they don't really have any place to go, or they have this inkling that like being spiritual could be helpful, or they want to be spiritual, but they don't even know what that means or how that looks. So I'm just providing a option for you, an option and some food for thought. Um, the way this, so this is the free introductory class. But what we'll do is we'll meet once a month on a Zoom, because in between the class, like we'll have a theme for each class, and I would give you sort of a outline before we started the class, so that you kind of know what we're doing each month. But but then you have to go practice, right? Then you have to practice what it is that we discussed, and see how it works for you in your life, and see how it's informing you, and see how it's moving you in your life. And then we'll come back together and we can share. It'll be a small group. So we'll have 6 of those. So I think it's interesting. So we'll start next week, July 16th. And then the last one will be in December, which, as you know, that's kind of a holiday time. So I think that's a good way to end the year. With the course also, you'll get one private session with me, one 1-hour private session that we could schedule anytime within the 6 months. And we'll probably do like maybe 2 just like group coaching sessions for whoever wants to participate. Because it's always really, and I know some people here can attest to listening to other people's journeys and other people's experiences is very enriching. And there's never any accident when the people that come together to focus on a particular topic, there's always some connection. There's always some connection or some theme that comes up. So it's a really cool thing that when we come together, so then you have this like little community, and it's like a real like open, safe space to talk about these things. Obviously, maybe you've thought about these things, but you're like, I have nobody to talk about this, or the people that I know are too extreme for me in one way or the other. So this is like a very like safe, open, down to earth, chill place to talk about stuff. And like I said, this is like, I'm good at salsa dancing and I'm good at this stuff and I understand a lot of it. That's what I'm good at. But I'm no authority. Like I'm not a theologian. I'm not an academic. I have no credential to do this other than my own life experience, and what I know that's worked for me and what I understand to be true. And I've had lots of mystical experiences as well. So yeah, so each class will have a different theme, and we'll check in. And what else can I say about that? I think that's it. So I'd love to find out from you guys if there's anyone that would like to share about like, if you have any questions about the class, or if you wanted to share maybe why you're interested in doing it. If anybody wants to come on, you can just wave your hand and let me know. All right, Chris, come on in. And yeah, so would you like me to pause recording, or are you good? Up to you.
I'm good, Christina. Yeah, thanks for taking us through it, and I'm excited. You asked some portion in the beginning about why I decided to sign on or what drew me in. Of course, it's always an in the moment decision. It just felt right when it was right. But it was also the community aspect that I can really relate to at this time and this space and this moment that you talked about. I felt a need for that. And I also haven't tried it before. So it was a combination of two of those two.
Awesome. Yeah, I think people are really, um, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Chris. I think people are really craving community, and because there's and community with meaning and purpose also, right? And like I said earlier, like a safe space to talk about some of these things, because like you could be into them, and even you could have like great friends, you could have a great group of friends, but like they're not interested in this, they don't want to talk about this stuff. Um so yeah, so even if you have community in another way or elsewhere, this could be a good place where like we're talking about stuff that maybe your other community, your other friends don't want to talk about it. So that's a great point. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else here want to share? Um, and I would ask also, or I'm curious, like what, like I know that I just sort of rambled because that's kind of how I do it, but like I'm curious as to maybe what you thought it was going to be or what your expectations are. Maybe that would be helpful, maybe, or what you're looking for, maybe. And it's okay if it was just like an intuitive thing. You're like, oh, this just feels right because I roll like that myself. But Nazni, did you want to share?
Yeah, so I guess from what if there's a little structure behind it and a little inspiration, maybe I'll be more motivated to do that for myself.
Yeah, I'm so glad actually that you mentioned that, because those are definitely two. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Those are definitely 2 points that I wanted to make, is like, right. Because I used to kind of like to do yoga, but I would never do yoga on my own. I need the class to like make me do it. So I think that is a really good example. And also one of the reasons why I'm offering it is like, yeah, I sit in my chair every morning. Like it's like, I feel like it's like brushing my teeth. Like if I don't do it, I feel really off. Um, but yeah, so to have a place to come at least once a month, because we'll be meeting once a month, but then, what, like I said a couple of times, but like to give you some structure and then to have some accountability with that structure, at least within a 30-day period, right? Um, yeah, I think it's really, really important, and the community part of it. And yeah, and the inspiration, which actually I talked about it in one of the YouTube videos that I did of it's just like I said, I have no authority. Like I'm just the Church of Christina. Like I'm just, and everyone should be their own authority on themselves. And it's like, so I'm just sharing what I know, what I understand, what I've observed, what has worked for me, whatever bits and pieces of like the history and traditional stuff that I know. I mean, I do have, like I talked about in one of my YouTube videos, you can see I do have a library over here. Like that whole middle is all like religious books. So Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism, uh so I'm like man's search for meaning. Bottom is all like holistic health. The top is more like history. And then I have another bookshelf that's all like esoteric stuff. That's all my astrology books and like all this other stuff. So like that, those are the, I don't read novels. I don't, and I've not read all those books, by the way. I use them like as reference. Um, yeah, like I don't read novels or anything like that, but like I've got a library of books because it's, again, it's like the thing that I'm the most interested in. And so I think that's also like somewhat of what's going to be like the future, because again, it's like AI takes away a lot of the drudgery and mundaneness of things. People are going to just be left with themselves, and it's like, okay, well, who are you? What do you like? What's interesting to you? And then like you can maybe have more time. I mean, who knows how this is all going to sort out? But one possibility is like, oh, then you've got all this time to explore the things that you love, right? And then you can share those things with people that maybe are interested, but they don't want to spend the time. Like that's what I feel like this class is. It's like this is like breathing to me. It's not even anything different or special. It's just how I live. But I realize most people don't live like this. For a lot of people, I don't know, live like this. So me just simply sharing, like, I think that's part of what our future is going to be, is like everyone has their own gifts, talents, interests, passions. And so like, I don't know, I think it's going to be this interesting sharing, teaching. Yeah, I don't know. That just came to me now, that I think that that's also part of this, of like, because and also I think, and so again, you know, as an example of myself, of like this natural organic evolution, this was always the core of who I was, but I didn't think I could be this in the world. So how do I take a lot of what I want to do and understand, and how do I put it in the world? So through travel, through the Women's Mosaic. So I created a nonprofit organization, and I put some of the concepts and sort of externalize or try to put in events and people. And then I became a coach, and then helping people with their career, and then being a speaker. But it's like, really, it's so interesting. It took all of that to get me back to the real core nugget of who I am, and that's all I want to talk about. That's all I want to do. And so I did all of those things, were facets of me that had this at the root of it. But now it's like, oh, I just get to be that's it. But I think, like, if I could just talk about this stuff all the time, that's all I would do. And that's kind of where the universe has been pushing me, because also things have changed in the world. So external circumstances have taken those other things away from me for various reasons. Like, we won't go into that. At the same time, turning on these other parts of me, which was sort of a natural evolution of my intuition and stuff, and being able to access and connect with people on the other side so accurate and evidentially. Like, none of that was planned. I am just going with how the universe is moving me. Like, resistance is where you're going to get the problems. Resistance is where you're going to get the frustration and the stress. And it's yeah, and the more you resist, the more the thing persists, right? That's the saying. And then it also affects your health and stuff too. So, and I think that's spiritual. There's a level of trust and faith that is part of living a spiritual life, because it's not material. You can't see it. It's not, something is moving you in a certain direction that does not always make sense to your rational mind or what the culture tells you. And you have to, within yourself, find some core of faith, knowing that this is who you are and this is the direction you're supposed to be moving in. And also, this is where sometimes the traditional religions have come in handy, because there is truth and wisdom in a lot of those texts and things. And so it's like, oh, I realize I'm experiencing this thing, and we'll go into this more in the course. It's like, oh, I'm experiencing this thing, or I'm at this certain level of my development. There's a reference point that someone went through the same thing 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago. They're giving it different language. It was a different time, but it's the same thing, because we're all humans. So that's how I have used traditional religion a lot, to validate or confirm or give me like a guidepost of like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense, because this is how they did it in this religion or this tradition or this practice that has been happening for 500,000 of years, because this is how humans evolve and develop. So that also is comforting to me. So it's a combination of like trusting yourself, but then also, I think we are human. We need some external validation, or signs or whatever. A lot of the times, right? Sometimes you just really have to go on blind faith, and those are the hardest things to do. But Yeah, so the inspiration piece, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Um Again, because like how often is anybody thinking about any of this? I mean, we're oh, okay, yeah. So we've been talking about this stuff for about an hour. So even to have your consciousness, your mind focus on this topic for 1 hour, like probably when we do the classes, it'll probably be like 75 to 90 minutes once a month to at least focus on this, right? And then you can take what you learn and then put it in your everyday life. But even that I think is so important. And actually it's funny because I didn't know if anybody was going to show up to the free intro class. And I'm so grateful for you guys who did, because it's so much easier to talk when there's people on the other side than when there's not. But I was going to do it anyway. But why was I saying that? Was I think I sent 3 emails about this to my list of people. So let's say I have 2,000 people on my email list, and however many, 500 people, let's say, open the email. That's 3 times that maybe 500 people were confronted with thinking about, oh, spiritual life, what does that even mean? So even what I realize is that it's going to appeal to whoever it's going to appeal to. And I was like, basically, it was like, if you build it, they will come. I don't, but my point is that even sending the email out and having someone focus for a minute, maybe it was just a minute that they looked at the email, it's still something that's like registering in their consciousness. Oh, spiritual life, what is that even? What do I even pay attention? And maybe they read a little bit more. Even that I think is significant. And so if you're going to take the bigger step and sign up to be with a course, that's really making a commitment to yourself and showing the universe like that you really want to grow, right? That you really want to grow in this area, that you really want to dedicate some time and attention to this other aspect of life that literally has been beaten out of, I feel like. And like the distractions, it's like the last thing that our modern society, certainly in the West, certainly in the United States, wants you to do is go within, is pay attention, is to live your life in an authentic, free way. They want you to buy their stuff, be a cookie cutter so that they control, like, so I think it's just a huge gift to yourself. And oh, here's the other thing that I was gonna say, and then we can wrap up. It's like people spend so much money and time going to the gym, right? Going to the physical gym. And like there's so much emphasis, got to work out, I got to exercise, I got to have my abs, I got to I got to my belly fat, and I got to run, and da, da, da. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have a physical vehicle, then we have to take care of it. I'm very much about taking care of your physical vehicle. But just think about the amount of time and energy and attention people put on, whether it's they're in themselves or the culture puts on your physique, being healthy, even though the culture is ridiculous because they say be healthy and then they sell us crap. That's a whole other story. But you know, how much time and energy do people spend in the gym or exercising or going for a run? But like they're not spending any time with their soul, like their internal self, their connecting with something greater than themselves. Like it can only help, right? It can only add to your life. I guess maybe that's a good place to land. If you are at all thinking about taking this course, if you are at all intrigued, if you've never thought a spiritual thought in your life, but something in you is like, you got to pay attention to this. It's just like me in yoga classes. Like I don't do yoga on my own, but like if there's a class to go to, at least I'm going to do yoga for an hour once a week or whatever it is, right? So same thing with the gym. You join your gym membership, maybe you go, maybe you don't go. But when you go, it's like, okay, at least I went, right? So maybe this is just an opportunity for you if you're considering it, like, okay, let me at least give my soul 1 hour a month to focus on this. And again, like I said, I think that 1 hour, I think that's a huge thing. And then you can decide what you want to do in between the, you know, the classes and how much you want to apply it. But at least for that hour, and obviously the classes will be recorded, so if you can't come to one, you'll still be able to watch. But I think that can make a quantum shift in your life, especially if you've not done anything before. It could make you feel more grounded. It could make you feel more peaceful. It can help you get through whatever challenges, whether they're personal challenges or the challenges that we're going to have, that we are having as a culture, and a society, and a country. I think I'm giving one of many options out there, but here is an opportunity for you to spend some time focusing on it. So I welcome anyone who is interested. Anyone, like Chris said, or you just get a little buzz, like something in your body, and we will be talking about that. We will be talking about intuition. If you get like a little something in this, like it's a little uncomfortable, but I feel like I need to do it, like don't hesitate. And whatever, all the details will be there, blah blah blah. Early bird if you pay by this Friday, and whatever, like let me know if you want tuition, if you need a sliding scale. I don't want to turn anyone away to this course, especially since it's the first one. And I just think that the time is now. So please reach out if you're at all interested. If you're not already on my mailing list, if you're seeing this on YouTube or someplace else, please be sure to get on my mailing list. And this way you'll get all the updates, etc. And follow me on social media, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram at Clearly Kristina. And it'll be a small group, it'll be anywhere probably from like, I don't know, 3 to 10 people. But we're going to meet, we're going to do it. And we would love, which starts next Wednesday, July 16th. I will send a little course outline. So with each month, we'll have a different topic. And so you will know ahead of time kind of what the theme is or what the topic is. And also maybe what I'll do is provide like some questions to think about before you come on to that particular class. So if you're at all interested, once again, please check out links. If you're looking this on my website, you can go to my website under events. If you're reading this on the email, the link should be there. If this is on YouTube or Instagram, check links in bio or in the description. And if you have any questions at all, please be sure to reach out. And I really don't want to turn anyone away. So if you need tuition remission, I know I'm talking like a university. It's not going to be that formal, but it's just I did used to teach for NYU. So it is kind of harkening back to my NYU days where I did have a syllabus and had to get this kind of like, so this is the language that I'm using, but you can see that I'm a very down to earth person, and no PowerPoints, by the way. I don't do PowerPoints. So, or slides or whatever you call them, but it's going to be a real like heartfelt, down to earth, grounded conversation. And I hope you join us. So thanks so much for watching the free intro class, and hope to see you in the course soon.